This might look like standard pictures from an ordinary election, but in fact, it is not. After a long day of deliberations with keynote speakers and organized group discussions, registered members of the social movement Occupy Central with Love and Peace went to the ballots and casted their votes to narrow down 15 different proposals for democratic reform in Hong Kong to 3. I'm standing right outside room 201 at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, where members of the Occupy Central movement are having a deliberation to decide on which 3 proposals that should be presented on June 22nd, when the final civil referendum will go on. From these 3 proposals, one will be elected and endorsed after a public vote in the end of June, conducted in a similar fashion but in larger scale, where the people of Hong Kong will vote on the question of universal suffrage. The civil referendum in June might be another way for the public of Hong Kong to collectively raise their voices and to clearly declare their opinions on the issue of universal suffrage. How do you think the deliberations have gone so far today?
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, maybe because I was lucky enough to join one of the most dynamic group, I believe, because we have different people from different political party. We even have a legislator inside. And so I think the dynamic is pretty good. Everyone is very informative, very knowledgeable. So I think I really appreciate the effort today and the discussion that I participate.
In an evening press conference the same day, results from the vote were announced by the organizers.
I think we have the results announced this evening, that we have 3 proposals, and we can see that each of the proposals has elements of civil nomination. That may be an indication of the choices of the supporters of Occupy Central. And as the decision made under a democratic process, and we must follow a decision made under a democratic process, and therefore this will be the 3 proposals that we will put forward for Hong Kong citizens to further decide in the coming civil referendum.
This Occupy movement was formed by law professor Benny Tai, sociology professor Dr. Kian Man Chan, and the Baptist pastor Reverend Yu Ming Chu, famous for aiding the Tiananmen Square protesters who fled to Hong Kong in 1989 to avoid a certain execution by the Chinese military. The reason that this public opinion poll conducted by the University of Hong Kong is receiving this amount of media attention is that it marks a historical event. If they are successful, Occupy Central could go down in history, because despite the concept's ancient roots, what this movement is striving for is considered as something radical and unfamiliar to the Hong Kong society. What they are fighting for is this: fair and free elections by universal suffrage and full democracy for Hong Kong. But as many of Hong Kong's traditional media outlets have sided against them, a great challenge for OCLP is to spread their information and to explain their goals to the public. Despite the clear promises for elections by universal suffrage that was made in the Basic Law, Hong Kong's mini-constitution, crafted by the British and the Chinese governments prior to the 1997 handover, the people of Hong Kong have not yet been able to vote for their chief executive in free elections. The chief executive of Hong Kong is elected by a nominating committee, a small group consisting of 1,200 people, many with strong affiliations to Beijing.
Beijing, the Chinese government, can easily control who might be the chief executive of Hong Kong through this election committee, and so the person now serving as the chief executive of Hong Kong is a yes man to Beijing and not really representing the Hong Kong people.
In January last year, Benny Tai, scholar of law and assistant professor at the Faculty of Law at the University of Hong Kong, wrote a column for the Hong Kong Economic Journal. Tai suggested a sit-in, a peaceful and collective act of civil resistance, commonly practiced by civil rights movements globally. The plan is suggested to take place in Central, the heart of Hong Kong's finance and business district, if the central government do not deliver a fair reform proposal for the 2017 election of chief executive. Despite the challenges, Benny Tai and the members of OCLP are hopeful.
But having a democratic elected government will not solve all problems, but it might be the starting point to deal with all the existing problems. We are at a crossroad for Hong Kong people. We have a group of Hong Kong people, I would say still minority, but a substantial minority in the community, that we are prepared to sacrifice ourselves, our personal freedom, in order to achieve something more than just economic prosperity for Hong Kong. That some universal values like equality, democracy, rule of law, freedoms, all these things for Hong Kong people.